Welcome back to Relax Radio. Hey, this is me, Nick, keeping you guys company on Real Talk. And, we are talking about how everyone is excited and happy and, super ecstatic, especially when it came down to the easing of restrictions. People are going out at pubs, people are having a good time, people are going out and, having the time of their life. They're celebrating. I mean, even with the virus going on, it just goes to show that people were really frustrated, especially when it came down to all the restrictions. I mean, after 3 months, to be out and about is something that a lot of people were looking forward to. And, with what is going on right now, there's a lot of anxiety also involved. A lot of people are anxious as well to be out of the house. And yeah, there's just a lot of this, there's just a lot of these anxiety, especially when it comes to social anxiety. Being around crowds again is just something for people. So for many of us, the gradual easing of these lockdown brings longed for opportunities, especially during this whole social distancing scenario, to see essentially our friends play sports, resume, the contact with our family, and get back into reality and get back to work that we value and we love. But for many of us, even the happy, much anticipated changes and all of this readjustment can be really hard for our mental health when it comes to mental health. So for many people, the prospect of coming out of this lockdown, is still, there's a lot of people are just worried, when coming back into contact with other people, being in touch with other people again, and, not being alone anymore. People are anxious and people are concerned. And a lot of these, may affect a lot of the people's mental health concerns. So there's a lot of these mental health concerns. So what are these mental health challenges, and what can we do to, prevent them or to ease them at least? So we should essentially be prepared for the fact that at the end of this lockdown, it might be as hard for us as the start was. Because in the beginning, we all remember how it began. I mean, the beginning when everything started getting locked down, people were complaining, people were shouting, people are not happy and frustrated, and they didn't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, now we're back into, we've been giving a little bit of leniency, given a little bit of freedom to breathe, and people are clueless. A lot of them are clueless. So it just, as it took the time for us to find out ways to cope during this whole lockdown, we should also expect that it'll take time for us to find our way back, to essentially find the groove, to reconnect with all of life. So yeah, things may not be as they were before. Things may not be the same like how they were in the beginning, but that's just how it is. So the mental health tips that I'm gonna give you guys is essentially finding routines, staying connected, eating well, taking all that exercise. Apply just as much now as they did at the beginning of this whole lockdown. So I mean, if you could even argue, you could even say it is even more important we remain in a period of high stress, but with more demands on us. So yeah, because the situation is unique. We were at one moment we were in a lockdown, and the next we're given all the freedom in the world, and we are confused. So that is just what a lot of people are facing, these uncertainty, their challenge, and they have no choice but to move through it as best as they can with their own coping mechanisms. So yeah, there's just one of the things, especially when it comes to fear and anxiety, there are the possibilities. The most common emotional response any one of us feels will be this. I mean, you're going to be afraid. You're going to feel a little anxious. You're going to be a little worried, and you don't know what to do. So finding a way to pull ourselves out through this lockdown took a lot of our emotional energy. Essentially, after once we were back, we were given this whole lockdown situation, a lot of people had arguably had a lot of difficulties when it came down to their mental health and concerns. And, there were a lot of people not happy about, especially when the lockdown came. But now that everything's back to normal, some people are actually worried. So some are worried about the anxiety of, being in these group settings. And again, there's a guy, his name is Ollie, a 24-year-old student from Surrey. He's been having the same issues as well. And he says, the nightclubs have always been a big issue for me. I'm much more looking forward to seeing friends in quieter places like these pubs and bars, and anywhere crowded or too loud does tend to put me off and can present a challenge to my anxiety. But I know that if I want to see my friends, I'm going to have to push myself a bit once lockdown is over. So yeah, now that lockdown is all over, people are being put in this situation again where they don't really know what to do with what is given to them. So just always remember, it's important to acknowledge that your feelings are reasonable. I mean, it's not, like, am I the only person supposed to feel like this? No, everyone feels the same. So don't worry about that. Don't fret. It'll just build up your anxiety. So you don't really want that. And if possible, take things at your own pace. Take it easy, take it slow. Take things gradually, step by step, as things come, and try to challenge yourself to try some different thing each and every day and every couple of days. I mean, that's just something you can try. And it's very easy to allow, the seclusion that was necessary in this lockdown to become deliberate, all now that the isolation is all done and now everything is easing out, it's important to remember that those little things that we were doing to keep ourselves occupied, those little things that we were doing to keep our body moving, to keep our mind moving, is very important. These are the small wins that we need to think about. So essentially, things you could do to control, like, to tips with coping with your fear and anxiety, is essentially control what can be controlled. There are a lot of things you cannot control, but the things that you can, though, make sure you try to control them. There are some things you can manage or have a plan for, but not for everything. Have an action plan. That's just something, that can help you, especially when it comes to, with all this restrictions easing out. And pace yourself. Always try to pace yourself. Recognize that, you have to go at the right pace, which is very important. So don't let others bully you or pressure you into doing things you don't want to do, especially now that everything is, getting back to normal, and how, a lot of these, like, there's going to be a lot of people outside, and you're going to meet a lot of your friends as well, and they're going to be pressuring you to do this and that. I mean, don't just pace yourself. Make sure you pace yourself. Make sure you take your time and ease out, and build up this tolerance. Try doing some challenges every day or every couple of days. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go well. I mean, hey, we've all been there. We've all failed sometimes, and it's just something that you have to practice as you go along the road, this rat race of life. So yeah, keep a note of things that you've achieved and enjoyed, or surprise yourself doing. Vary your routines. Make sure you try everything new. Don't keep going through that same route again and again. Especially now that especially when it came to easing up of the restrictions, a lot of people are allowed to go through most places. You're still not allowed to travel internationally as of yet, but hopefully as time goes by, we might be seeing some of that. So yeah, vary your routines, talk at work and talk to work and all of that. And if you can, get more flexible working hours. It's okay, with what is going on, and cope with all of this uncertainty. Focus on your present, bring things that are certain back into your life. Make sure you talk to people you trust if you are having issues, if you are having concerns, or if you're having any kind of fear. I mean, a lot of people do go through this. A lot of people do feel anxiety, and it's just something that is a given. So make sure you do your best, especially when it comes to this. It's like we've been given this freedom again. So why not take it one step at a time? Why not take it easy? Why not take it slow? I mean, that's just the best way to do things in life. And pick up your social lives. Make sure you keep in touch with people through phone calls. I mean, as much as you can. Even if you do meet your people outside, make sure you follow the proper procedures. Make sure you follow all of the necessary precautions. Make sure you always wear your mask, sanitize, and keep that 1 meter distance as much as possible. So, because look, there's just one thing. Now that we're going to be out of the lockdown, we're going to have a social life again. But with some of the changes, for the foreseeable future, a lot of us actually are desperate to do so, to meet our friends. But others are going to be nervous about going out and about into these pubs and restaurants, or many of them, are not going to be able to do so because of their situation. So if you're part of a social group doing an activity together, try and plan ways for people who aren't ready for face-to-face meetings to still take part. Make sure, you get everyone involved you get everyone involved in a safe manner. Of course, that's very important that we have to remember. And yeah, if you have family, if you're grieving, there's also something that, a lot of us will be experiencing during this lockdown. Many people have faced a lot of loss, especially when it comes to someone close. So make sure, you talk about it. You find a counselor, you find a social circle, a bubble that can help you, cope through all of this grief. And with what is going on right now, with all the celebration, we shouldn't forget as well as the people who have lost their lives, especially during this pandemic. So celebrate, but try not to, do anything stupid. Try not to go, out of your way and, do anything that you don't really have to be doing, essentially, is what I'm trying to tell you. So try to make it safe, trying to keep it safe as much as you can. And hopefully, with time, once everyone gets vaccinated, we can get 100% back to normalcy. And with that, we are going to take a quick break and taking a look at your time right now. It is 2:46. Good afternoon.